If you have ever missed out on something that you really wanted to say yes to, take part in, because of how you felt in your body, this episode is for you. Welcome back to the Nicola Graham Podcast. Today we are going to be talking about the real reason why you want to drop body fat. This is something that you may have heard of, understanding your reason why, understanding the deeper meaning. But ladies, this really does drive habits, behaviours, and whether or not we're able to sustain consistency. We need to tap into the real reason why we want to drop weight, see that number on the scales, fit into a smaller dress size. And I think a lot of the time we get caught up in, well, it's just what we've always done. We've always chased fat loss. We've always been on a diet. And so it becomes a part of our identity without us even realising, why do we actually want this? But before we get into that, this is my podcast. So I thought, well, I'm going to introduce a feature that I feel is a little bit unfiltered. Okay, so each week, I want to talk about something off topic, whether it is a bugbear, whether it's an anecdote from my week. Just a little bit of 5 minutes of unfiltered before we get into the depth of the podcast. And this week, my unfiltered topic is around how quickly the tides change with celebrity fitness trends. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. I've got to say, I've noticed this over the years. And it always seems to sort of like swing in roundabouts. And it annoys me a little bit. I'm not going to call anyone out or name names, because that's not what we do. If I'm going to be a girl's girl, which I truly am, I'm not going to call out another woman, especially not on a YouTube or a podcast. But there are fitness trainers out there who have made millions selling programs, selling the shiny object, doing things a certain way, who now are doing a complete 180 and saying, actually, that whole time I was really struggling and I'm completely changing everything. And I'm going to show you a different way to do it. And there's no harm in changing. We evolve, like we're meant to change. I've just been saying this earlier this morning. The advice that I would have given you when I was in my 20s obviously will look different to the advice I would give you now, because I have changed and I understand more about women's health. But I think for us women who are we are susceptible to what we see online, we buy into it. We want to believe that this is the thing that's going to fix everything. And a lot of the time, the person, the celebrity, the advocate for whatever the latest trend is struggling behind the camera, and they're selling us a lie. And I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but I have. There are a couple of big figures out there at the moment, and even just, not even big figures. Maybe it's funny, isn't it? Because we curate our own feed. So they seem big to me because I see all of what they do. You might not know. We all have those people that we follow. But I'm watching them and I'm thinking, isn't it funny that 12 months ago you were doing something completely opposite to that and telling everyone it was the only way, it was the best way, and you built a business off the back of that, and now you're turning around and saying, actually, that doesn't work. This is what we need to do. And so this is just, I think we need to just be consciously aware of what we see online. Because, and another thing that I will always say this, especially to my friends and women of a like-minded age, a big one is not to compare ourselves, especially to women online, ladies who are not living our lifestyle. We're taking the recommendation, we're watching it, say for example, the 20-odd-year-old get the six-pack abs, do whatever it is that they're promoting, okay? And we're buying into it. And we are downloading their workout app and we're following their recipes, and they're 20 years younger than us. And they haven't got 2 kids, and they haven't got the busyness of life, or they've got a different version of the busyness of life. And I think it's really important to, and I speak on this frequently and often because social media is such a huge part of our culture now. And it definitely drives, I think sometimes, why we think that we want to lose weight, because a lot of the time it's because we're online and we're comparing ourselves and we're seeing what other people are doing or achieving or how they look or the clothes that they can wear. So yeah, that went off on a bit of a rant, but that's my unfiltered topic this week. Something that I just notice all of the time. Anyway, moving on to this whole podcast has come about off the back of a conversation that I had with a client last week, again, who I won't name, and I'll share a little insight. So we had our little touch base call, little regroup post-holiday, reset, focus for, goals going through the summer, get some clarity on what we want to get out of the next couple of months working together. And as we're chatting, I'm speaking to her about why it's important that she loses X amount of weight. And she couldn't really articulate why she wanted to lose the weight. It was just because there was a little bit of this, a little bit of body conscious, even just on the Zoom. And she said, I don't know, I just want to feel more confident. And I said, okay, where are you not feeling confident? And she said, well, I've got another holiday this year, so I'd love to feel more confident on holiday. I said, okay, what would that look like? And she was like, just get in the pool. I'd just like to have the confidence to get in the pool. Bear in mind, this woman, I think she already looks great. It's mad, isn't it, what we think of ourselves? I would never look at this woman by the pool and think, ooh, I would never look at another woman anyway and judge them by their weight. But what she sees in herself, I very much doubt anyone else would see. Anyway, so I said, okay, so did you not go in the pool on the holiday that you've just been on? And she was like, no. And she's on holiday with her family, okay, children are there. And I was like, oh, okay. So you, not once? She was like, no. I said, why? She said, I don't know. I just feel a little bit self-conscious. So and the kids are used to it now. I just sit on the side and, my husband gets in with them. And I was like, okay, this is a much bigger mission than, we're not chasing a number on the scales here. This is scrap that. When we get to the point where you are confident enough to run and dive in that pool and live your life and for your kids to see you at your happiest, freest self, whatever that number is on the scale, that's your happy weight. We are no longer chasing a number. We are now chasing that confidence, that feeling, okay? And there's a lot more that goes into it. And instantly she was like, oh, okay. And I was like, right, okay. So now this is where we completely reframe what you're trying to chase, because we're no longer stalking that number on the scale. And we're going to do I want you to try your swimwear on a weekly basis. Put it on. How do you feel? Because we're building up to this event. We're not striving for fat loss for this event. This is going to be a pivotal moment. You are going to get on that holiday and you're going to experience a different version of holiday, because you are going to be that mum that gets in the pool with the kids. And I was like, you are going to be that mum that dive bombs in the pool. She was like, let's take it one step at a time. I was like, no, let's go for it. What are we waiting for? This is let's live. This is what we are chasing. This is what we're going to do. Okay. What held you back so far? Okay. And yeah, some of that, it does come down to our body image. And I think for a lot of us women, sometimes we're chasing an old version of ourselves, aren't we? Or we remember how we used to be, or we remember how we felt. A lot of the time I will speak to women, and I totally relate to this one, and it'll be like, okay, so when was the last time that you felt at your best? And it's always, just before my wedding. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's be clear here, ladies. I've just caught myself, by the way, saying the word okay again. Thank you so much. I'm going to interject this episode. Thank you so much for everybody who has persevered the first however many episodes have been released at this point, where I say the word okay 1,000,001 times. And I also have noticed my common repetitive saying is, hear me out on this. So I'm trying not to say the word okay. Anyway, back to it. The wedding body. I'm like, that for all of us, that was a moment in time. It's not to say that we can't get back to that weight, but I think the adrenaline, the motivation, the excitement, the size of the occasion, the moment in our lives, it almost is a one-off, and we can use it to drive our goals, but ultimately it was how we felt. We just felt at our best. And a lot of the time we felt at our best on that day because we'd really taken care of ourselves in the run up to it. And that's what I'm trying to articulate when you're trying to think of, okay, why is this important to me to drop fat, to drop weight, to lose weight? Think about it. Like, when was the last time you actually sat back and thought? And you know what's mad? Some of you listening to this will be thinking, when I think about it, I don't even know if I want to drop weight. I feel genuinely happy. I'm good. I could be a couple of pounds lighter. I could be half a stone, whatever. But you ask me how I feel in myself, and if there was no one else judging me, if I wasn't worried about what anyone else thought, I would tell you I'm happy. I get to work my wardrobe, put on the clothes that I want, I'm fit, I take care of myself. And then you realise, okay, I'm just hardwired here to always be chasing fat loss. It's not healthy. But we want to understand the deeper meaning behind why, because I think it does take away the dread of calorie counting, and it does take away that feeling of being on a diet. And you know, that realisation that I always talk about, where you realise everything is just a series of better decisions. And we come to that when we are just making decisions aligned with our deeper meaning, our deeper reason why. I think I spoke about this in a previous episode. A lot of the decisions that I make around going to the gym or refusing the junk food or maybe limiting alcohol, it's not because I must remain at this number on the scales. That's nothing to do with it. It's because my deeper reason why is like my girls and just how I want to show up in the world, essentially. And so when I'm presented with decisions to make, I try as best as I can to make the decision that aligns with that reason. And it's so hardwired. It took me a while to get to it. I just think what an amazing feeling it would be for us all to understand that reason why for ourselves, because we wouldn't be putting ourselves under constant pressure, and we wouldn't be such a slave to the scales, which just is still wild times. But anyway, sometimes it's about staying desirable. And this is, again, I think this is something that we don't even think about. So I dug really deep into this conversation with this client because I was so fascinated that she hadn't been in the pool at all. Because again, my perception when I see her, I'm like, okay, we've got a fat loss goal. We know what we're working with. Like, we can see that, but you definitely are not that woman by the pool that's going to look wildly different to anyone else. Anyway. So we're talking about, so what is it you don't feel confident about? And who is it you're worried about? Who are you worried about? Are you worried about the other people around the pool looking at you? Because no one's looking at anyone else. We're all looking at ourselves. This is such an empowering thought. And I say this, to clients who are like new going to the gym or whatever it might be. It's taken me a while to realise this. No one cares. No one cares. Everyone is too busy worrying about themselves. I need to remind myself of this all of the time because I hold myself back in different areas of life. And no one cares what I'm doing, what I'm saying. Like, everyone is too busy worrying about themselves. So we dug a little bit deeper and we got to the crux of it. I just want to be desirable for my husband, really. Like, if my hubby and my kids think I look great, that would be me, happy. And I was like, okay, so what do we think is more desirable to your husband now? You holding yourself with confidence and getting in the pool and joining in and having fun? Or you missing out and sitting on the side self-consciously, just shrinking yourself, essentially, and watching everyone else having fun? And, we got to the bottom of that and think about it. Like, think about, and I was able to get that out of her because I relate to this. I relate to this. And I speak to my hubby about this all of the time because, and again, I've spoken on previous episodes after I'd had my youngest, I was very conscious that I didn't want to put myself under pressure. So I had to talk about that at home. And I, it's speaking about our insecurities, essentially. And it feels easier sometimes to wing it or mask it, or, do you know what? I'm just going to leave my clothes on around the house. I'll quickly get changed when hubby goes to the bathroom. So he won't even see me get changed. He'll come back in and I'm in my nightwear or whatever it might be, the scenario. And we think that that's enough to just bypass what's really going on, which is our body's changed. Maybe we're carrying a little bit more weight than we did 10 years ago, which is normal, than we did before we had kids or before our crazy hormones got involved. Shout out to everyone in their 40s and beyond. And we fear bringing it up with our partners, but it's empowering. Like we're holding ourselves back. And I said to her, you need to have this. Well, I didn't say you need. Actually, I don't like that. You need or you should. It's on you, what you want to do, but why not have the conversation with your hubby? And yes, he probably is going to say, I love you exactly the way you are. And if you choose not to believe that, then that's your narrative in your head. And this is something else that we have to change, ladies, is that we pull ourselves down and then we worry that those closest to us or those that love us are also thinking the same thing. But we're creating this whole narrative. Because I know the reason that most of us, like the significant other that we love, one of the things that we love about them is maybe their confidence or their ability to make us laugh, or they bring the best out in us. But we have to be the energy that we want to attract. And this sounds like it's going off a little bit, but it's just the deeper reason why. So it might be that you want to stay more desirable. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to... I feel like the men don't get it. And they're probably listening to this thinking, gee, cow. But they just don't. Like, our bodies change. And I can wake up and overnight my boobs have grown, right? Overnight. Which I don't know if anyone... It's hormonal, obviously. They'll probably shrink back again in 2 weeks or whatever. But if that can happen, then of course we can wake up and also feel bloated and feel puffy and all of these other things that, like, it's so frustrating as a woman. And part of me is like, we've got to embrace it, because a healthy body is going to fluctuate. I always try to give this reassurance. A healthy body will fluctuate. If you're not fluctuating, I would consider that to be more of a concern, to be quite honest, because a healthy body will fluctuate. It'll fluctuate based on the foods that we've ate, how well we've slept, all of these other, factors to consider. And it doesn't relate to body fat. It might fluctuate the weight on the scales. Again, this is why we've just got to use that number as dated information. But yeah, I think from my own experience, what I see with a lot of the women that I work with, what I would love to just like stoke as a thought, because there's going to be a lot of information in these podcasts, okay? There's going to be a lot of try this, do that, and we listen and we might feel motivated and then we go back to normal. But I want you to really think about this week. If you're out on your walk and you're getting your steps, or you're driving, or wherever you're listening, think, why is this important to you? Why do you want to change? Who matters most? Who are you worried about judging you? Who do you think is looking? Who is it really for? Who are you comparing yourself to? Bring it back to that first little unfiltered. If you're comparing yourself to the woman who's 10 years younger, who's got a totally different lifestyle online, then we need to get over it, because we can use that as inspiration. It's great to be inspired by others, but we can't compare ourselves. We've got to tap into, why is this important to me? Where am I holding myself back? Because we're wasting precious days, weeks, months, years of our life just chasing a scale number for a reason that we don't even know anymore. And I've got another client who I'm hoping is going to come on this podcast at some point and share her story, because she's so inspiring. And I won't share her story now, but to go from where she started to where she is now. This is less than 12 months ago, by the way. She started at the point that I think she would have considered breaking point. Like she was considering going on medication, just to control just the box of frogs in her head, essentially. She'd had a conversation with someone just in passing who had said to her, you need to go and speak to Nick. She came and spoke to me. We're now less than 12 months in. She is just about to do her first triathlon. She is an absolute force of a woman to be reckoned with. She started with a fat loss goal. Of course she did. Like the goal was I just need to drop fat, just need to drop body weight. I'm spiraling. And I was like, okay. And I can see as a coach sometimes what I feel that this woman is going to benefit from most. And some of that was just taking time for herself and, you know, maybe practicing a little bit of self-love, which I know sounds very woo, but it matters. It helps with the process and central nervous system, all the other good stuff. The transformation that she has had has gone so far past that scale number. It is wild. She's now signing up for a triathlon. She is fueling her body this week for performance. I'm like, mic drop. Like that's the position that she's got herself to, because she, over the course of time, and it happened quite quickly for her because she was very willing to sort of like take on, you know, every suggestion made. But she absolutely tapped into, oh, this is my reason why. I want to show up in this way. These are the people that matter to me. This is the consequence of me neglecting my health. This is the consequence of me being overweight. And a lot of the time when she thinks of those bigger reasons why, it's driven this whole other, like she's just evolved to this absolute force of a woman. So hopefully she's going to come on. But we need to move away, ladies, from fixing that outside version of ourselves to truly caring for ourselves. And again, if you've listened to I think it was maybe the first episode or one of, that was the biggest penny drop for me. I went from trying to drop postpartum body fat to I need to take care of myself. And the transformation was like that. And it was, for me, it was just, wow, we're not built to carry extra body fat. We're not built to be in fight or flight. A healthy body that is cared for, that is well regulated, will naturally line up with a healthy body weight. So we stress about dropping the fat, but if we actually just pay better attention to caring for ourselves, the body fat will naturally fall away, because we're not built to carry extra weight. We're built to move and live and laugh and all of the other good stuff. Oh, that sounded a bit cheesy. Never mind. I'm feeling a little bit put off because Anchorman is in the studio and he's standing right behind the camera. Do you want to budge? He's just also had his hands up his shirt at one point, scratching his stomach, which you probably haven't even realised. And I'm like, you're right in my eye line. Again, I won't name and shame. Okay, takeaways from this week, or the real thinking point is, first of all, remember, if it feels too radical of a change, and this is related back to sort of like those more harsh approaches to dropping the weight or the quick fixes or whatever it might be, if it feels unsustainable, it's probably not. And you cannot sustain the transformation if you don't understand why it's important to you to transform. And this is a lot of what we see happen, and I think we can all relate to this. I definitely can. In my younger years, we diet, or we want to achieve a certain look, wear a certain outfit, you know, see a certain number on the scales for X occasion. We then meet that, but we can't sustain it because our reason why we wanted to get there, it's got no weight behind it, it's got no depth to it. Like, we don't even understand why we wanted to get there. Maybe it was just so that, you know, on the photographs, you weren't the biggest one in a bridesmaid's dress, or whatever the reason might be. But if we can understand, okay, but why does that matter to you? Why is that important? You are then way more easily able to sustain the lifestyle, because it ties into your deeper reason why. And when the real reason becomes clear, the process just becomes so much easier, ladies. I promise you. I know that the process seems hard, and we don't want to start in the summer because, well, we're going to be going to here, there and everywhere with the kids, and we don't want to start at Christmas because, we're going to be socialising and whatever else. But when your reason why is clear, you'll understand that you can still live this lifestyle and enjoy all of those things. But it's understanding that. It's understanding how do we make that work? How do we find that balance? And a lot of it just comes down to, okay, because everything is a series of decisions, and there's always an opportunity to line up with your higher self. There's always an opportunity to choose up to the decision that takes you one step closer to where you want to be. But you need to understand why you want to go in that direction. So really sit back and think, why do I want to drop body fat? Are you chasing freedom? Are you chasing just wanting to be more desirable? Do you need to have that chat with your partner, with your hubby, about how you're really feeling? Maybe something to think about. But the scale, I promise you, the scale will come secondary to how you feel in yourself when you are chasing what really matters. I hope that you've all enjoyed this. If you have, I would really appreciate, and I massively appreciate anyone so far who has subscribed, liked, shared the podcast. Thank you to everyone who drops me a message. I'm really interested on what you've taken away. I've had a couple of messages of insights of oh, Nick, I enjoyed what you said about this. I related to this. So please continue to send me your messages. Please subscribe to the podcast. It really means a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.